Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to NIBM Global, the webinar. Today we are going to speak about sentiment analysis. Now, the term will give you an idea as such. Only thing is this is going into the web because as you would already know, today is a world of big data. There is a lot of data being generated online as you are talking. There is plenty of data at your disposal. Now, what managers are concerned about today, what academicians are concerned about today is how do I make use of this data to the best possible use so that I pitch my product in the most, or the best manner to the customer. Now, when we speak about this big data that we are talking about, the problem is this 90% of the entire data that is being created is in the form of unstructured data. Unlike tables and numbers and what it used to be in quantitative terms, today you have what is called a lot of textual data. And what is this textual data, or where does it come from? You're talking about comments, you're talking about blogs, you're talking about reviews about your product and so on and so forth. Say for example, if you're talking about planning a trip to some place. Now you want to decide upon which resort you're going to stay, which flyer you're going to fly, to book, and so on and so forth, and you have never been to this place before and you don't have anybody there. Today the typical way is you go and you find out all the options available in front of you. You probably will have some conditionalities based on which you'll decide upon, okay, this is the location wherein I'm going to do, this is my budget, and based on this 4, 5, 6, 7 things are what I have shortlisted. Now from that, how do I decide upon which should be the best? I go find out the review. You have several blogs today, several what is called websites like your Make My Trip and Trivago and everything, which gives you reviews about this particular hotel or resort. You have all the details there given by the marketer himself. You also have user reviews there. So you go find out what is it. You don't just go by the numbers, whether it is 4, 5, no, that doesn't matter. What matters to you, what is it that he has written down about this particular facility. Now, what happens, this data in your traditional method you cannot analyze because this is text. This is a raw text and it doesn't make any sense to a SPSS or an Excel. And hence you have this more recent methods like say your sentiment analysis and word cloud, which you can do using several softwares. You have Pythons, you have R's, and so on and so forth. Now what does sentiment analysis do? It basically tries to identify what is your sentiment or what is the general sentiment of users towards a particular product, towards a particular brand probably, or towards a particular item. Now, this is what you call in short about sentiment analysis is. Now, how do you do it? You identify all the text that is being spoken about. Like for example, as I told you, the case of a resort. You pick up say resort A is what I want to analyze, and you find out which are the several user reviews that have come in. And you go into different websites and you get all the user reviews. There are web crawlers today to do that for you. Okay, you need not go manually and do it, which is a Herculean task. So you can have web crawlers who will go fetch data for you. You'll get the entire textual data and you find out whether people are feeling positive about this. Are they feeling negative about this, or are they neutral about it? Like for example, this is basically based on your natural language processing, wherein you say if you're using a word called hate. Now the problem is hate is a negative word. So this sentiment analysis tool has a scale wherein you're saying extreme positive to extreme negative, and you have something in between which is called neutral also. So what happens if you look at a sentence, if you look at a sentence, like for example, you are saying, I hate the food in this resort. So what happens? This becomes a negative statement because there is an extreme negative word called I hate coming up in that particular statement. So this is what typically happens. Now, in reality, it is not going to be as simple as that, because there will be several kind of statement. Like, say, you're saying, I hate the food here, but I love the service that they had provided. Now you're talking about a neutral kind of sentence. And this is where you look at what is called a multi-level sentiment analysis also, wherein you are breaking down this into two or any number of sentences, and you are finding out each part. Like, for example, the first part is about hate. It's a negative kind of a sentiment, while the second part is love. That's a positive sentiment. Now, further, you can also drill down to identify towards what is it that your sentiment is positive, or towards what is it that your sentiment is negative. And in our case, you will find that when you drill down, you'll find that there is a negative sentiment towards a restaurant, and there is a positive sentiment towards what is called your service. So this is fantastic information for marketers, because I have got this from a source where my customers will also be searching down. My customers will be checking for user reviews. And I know that if they are finding negative about my restaurant, they'll not probably be happy. So, but at the same time, I'm also happy with the way service is done. So I need to make corrections. I can go down and I can find out what is happening in restaurant. I can also do the word cloud to find out what is actually wrong with this restaurant. Why do they have a negative sentiment towards restaurants? So this is a fabulous technique that you have today, because everything is online today. You decide upon any product finally after looking at what is called your websites. You go into blogs, you go into what is called mentions, and so on and so forth. Even otherwise, you also have, like, for example, if you have gone for a trip and you've come back, you had a bad experience about something, you would invariably put it online. You would say, this thing about this resort was very bad, I felt really sad, I was disappointed, and so on and so forth. And a lot of people have access to this, and this is coming out from every part of the world. And to keep track of this is very difficult for a marketer, because you have techniques as these today, as web crawling and then identifying the sentiment. Things are becoming more and more easier. So it basically it works like this. You are first identifying or breaking down the words. Like, for example, I am not is like, or I hate. You're breaking down into different words, and then you are identifying or measuring in a scale the level of sentiments, or what you call it, level of positivity or negativity in the word. And then you are identifying what is it that their feeling is in general. Now, if you're saying it is negative or positive, towards what aspect are you talking about? Your traditional factors are coming there. So you find out to what aspect is it that they have a positive sentiment, to what aspect is it that they have a negative sentiment, and then you break it down into pieces, and you make the correction physically to find out to correct it. Okay, you even can redesign your positioning strategy based on the understanding that you get from your sentiment analysis, because there was this classic example of an airplane, a flyer, a national flyer, who had pitched thus far as the flyer which is always on time, but they did a sentiment analysis and identified that the biggest negative that is coming about them is regarding their time. Now, they worked on it, one, and two, they also slightly changed the positioning strategy into something else, which is absolutely good, because the biggest problem or biggest dissatisfaction comes out of the expectation and perception mismatch. And when there is a flyer who projects himself as on time every time, and then he is not able to deliver the result, then the customer becomes very irritated. So one, you need to correct it, and second thing, you can also make the expectation different by slightly changing your positioning strategy as well. Thank you.